Get ready because I'm about to share with you the most stunning luxury home builder you've never heard of. They're low volume, not a lot out there, but in the luxury space, they make a nice appearance, and I don't want you to miss that. Now, I mentioned they're small, Huntington Homes, and they are. They stick to their home turf, which is Texas. They don't build outside the state, and they're pretty much focused in Dallas and parts of Houston. They were founded in 1991, but they're actually the luxury division of Highland Homes, which has been building since 1985. So that gives them a good 30 years of experience. Plus, if you're a big fan of Highland Homes, okay, just think bigger and better when it comes to Huntington. Now, when it comes to awards, there's really not much out there, okay? The only award I could independently verify was the 2015 People's Choice Builder of the Year. That's it. Their website mentions award-winning plans, all right, but there's no source you can actually dig into, okay? Not one that I found. So far, you might be thinking this is pretty lackluster, but you want to remember their parent company is very strong. Highland Homes has well over a dozen awards, and Huntington is their luxury line. The impression I've gotten, like through our experience with them, is that Highland just doesn't put a whole lot into their luxury line. Their focus is more on Highland. And then you have like this small elite division with Huntington. But I'm telling you, in the luxury space, you don't want to miss them. I always want to ask myself, is this builder going to stick around? And is my warranty even worth the paper it's printed on? With a Huntington on its own, okay, I would not have the warm and fuzzies. It's in Texas only, and even then it's only in 2 parts of Texas. Now financially, they seem stable, but they're just not that big. They close far fewer than 1,000 homes a year, which puts them on the small side. Especially compared to like industry giants. Are they going bankrupt tomorrow? Okay, probably not. But are they large and diversified enough to weather a major downturn? Okay, that's a little less clear. Ordinarily, if I had to give them a letter grade on how much I can trust my warranty to actually mean something, I would go with like a C+. However, all right, you really have to revisit that in light of their parent company. Highland is still only a Texas company, but it's a lot bigger with deeper pockets. So taking into consideration their backing with Highland, okay, your odds of your warranty actually meaning something improve a lot. So ultimately, I would give them a B. Now, Huntington Homes does a great job offering a wide variety of elevations, pulling from styles like modern farmhouse, classic brick, and high-end European influence. If you were driving down the street in one of their neighborhoods, this is not the cookie cutter setup you see, sometimes in like master plan communities. I mean, there is real architectural diversity here that's going to add personality to a neighborhood. In their Frisco Fields community, you have the option of a European design with white brick, black framed windows, a covered balcony, and metal awnings. Another features steeply pitched gables on either side, painted white brick paired with charcoal black trim. You have a blend of craftsman and modern styles with gray brick, board and batten siding, exposed wood beams, and black framed windows. And then there's a home that really nails the modern farmhouse look. It has cream colored siding, exposed wood beams, and black framed windows. In their Mustang Lakes subdivision, they feature quite a different look. One house has a white painted brick exterior with gray shutters, black metal awnings, and a side entry 3-car garage. Then you have one with white brick, steep gables, arched windows, and gray accents. Next up, you have a soft-toned brick with dark wood accents, sharp gables, and a metal awning. Then you have one with low, flat roof lines, a modern look, and large-scale windows. Their interiors, okay, I'm telling you, they are absolute showstoppers. You have exposed wood beams, massive walls of windows, far more than you would usually see. This is where you're going to fall in love. I'll tell you what, when it comes to exterior variety and curb appeal, Huntington gets a solid A+ in my book. But what if you wanted to build from the ground up? Like, what would that look like with Huntington? Well, in their Frisco community, They offer 6 distinct luxury floor plans. Then head up to Salina and you'll find at least 10 more unique layouts available there. So if you wanted to do a new build with Huntington, across just those 2 areas, you're looking at around 16 different luxury home types, each with its own size range, bedroom count, and overall layout structure. So that's a decent spread for buyers who want variety but don't want to create their own floor plan. When it comes to personalizing that floor plan, so once you've decided on that floor plan, personalizing it, there's a solid range of choices baked into the process. Like you'll make selections with their in-house design team, usually early on in the planning phase. Things like sliding doors, upgraded tubs, or pantry configurations are all on the table. They also allow moderate to significant structural modifications, right? So now we're talking about changing the structure. Though how far you can go really depends on the specific plan and the community guidelines. Now, Huntington isn't a full-blown custom builder in the purest sense, okay? They're more like a flexible stock plan builder. That means if you're hoping to design something entirely from the ground up, this isn't the place for that, okay? But because they're the custom division of Highland Homes, they do have some leeway within their own framework. I mean, you're still gonna have to stick to their base floor plans, but there's room to bend and stretch. Now, throughout the process, right, our new build process, you'll work directly with sales counselors and interior designers, which definitely helps streamline decisions and avoid surprises, right? A few of their plans allow for more ambitious changes, like adding a second floor where it wasn't originally included, but really that is gonna be the exception, not the rule. One major downside, their website isn't much help if you're trying to research the design process in advance. There's no interactive gallery or walkthrough tool to show you how things come together, but they do offer design palette guidance in person with luxury looks you can tailor to your taste. You may not be choosing every single tile, but you are making choices that reflect your style. Here's what they say: your home reflects your unique personality. We give you the power to make many custom design selections throughout the building process. So, sounds good so far, right? Then they continue. Choose one of our award-winning plans that best fits your lifestyle. From there, you work with sales counselors and interior designers who are committed to customizing your new luxury home right down to the very last detail. Of course, we know dirt is part of the equation when it comes to doing a new build. So what does that look like with Huntington? Okay, what choices do we have? Well, most of their homes are placed on larger estate-sized lots. So we're talking like usually in the 75 to 100 plus foot range. So particularly if you're wanting to do a luxury new build on an oversized lot, all right, Huntington is definitely a builder that you want on your radar. In general, Salina is a tough place to find homes on large lots. So if that's where you're looking, okay, I can tell you right now, you definitely want to keep Huntington in mind. So when I think about building from the ground up, right, and how much can I customize that, I would give Huntington a solid B+. Okay, you get good flexibility and designer help. But if you think about it, like some of our other builders, like Shattuck, for example, okay, they have hundreds of floor plans to choose from. So you have luxury choices, but there aren't that many of them. So Huntington just isn't a huge player. But again, it is a decent selection. Now let's talk about their warranties for just a minute. Huntington offers a 1-to-10 warranty, and it's actually serviced by Highland Homes, which is their parent company. And that's a solid starting point. Okay, it means you're not relying on a third-party warranty company or some fly-by-night service team. Highland has been around a while, so there's some reassurance there in knowing the same folks who build your home are also backing it. The 1-to-10 structure itself is fairly standard across the industry. You get 1 year for workmanship, 2 years for systems like plumbing and electrical, and then 10 years for structural coverage. It sounds comprehensive, and for most homeowners, okay, this is what they expect. But here's the thing, all right, some builders go above and beyond that baseline. There are builders out there offering longer terms. So how do we grade this? Well, it is a decent offering, and the Highland servicing does help. But compared to what the best builders are offering right now, it's just not enough to push it into the A range. So I would give the Huntington Homes warranty setup a B+, okay? It's good, but buyers who are laser focused on post-close peace of mind, might want to compare this against a few other builders before locking anything in. Now, location. This is where Huntington really falls short, and honestly, it's the biggest limitation with this builder. Right now, they're only building in 2 active communities in the Dallas area, with 1 more still in development. I mean, that is not a lot of options, especially if you're someone looking for flexibility in where you live. So remember when I said this is probably the builder you've never heard of? All right, well, this will probably be why. All right, Huntington is currently active in Frisco at their Fields community, Mustang Lakes in Salina, and soon they'll be breaking ground in Ridgeline in McKinney. These are all suburbs located north of Dallas and northeast of Fort Worth. So great areas, definitely, okay, but if you're not interested in those areas, okay, this builder is not gonna work for you. Another major drawback, you can't build a Huntington home on your own lot. So if you've got a piece of land picked out, okay, you're out of luck. It's not gonna happen with them. They only build within their selected master plan communities, and then you don't have that many communities. And here's the frustrating part. Even if you fall in love with one of their floor plans, that doesn't mean you can take it to another community. Their floor plans don't typically transfer across all locations. So we have a nice luxury builder here, all right? But if we're being honest and we're grading them strictly on location flexibility, it's gotta be a C. I mean, the floor plans may be nice, but if they're locked into very limited places, okay, that's a huge constraint. So we know their number of locations is pretty limited, but how many overall homes do they have available for sale? Digging into what Huntington currently has listed, okay, here's what I found in terms of total availability. In the Fields community, there are 3 move-in ready homes available. In Mustang Lakes, up in Salina, there are 7, okay? Beyond that, everything else listed appears to be pre-market, meaning it's not actually ready yet and may not be for a while. So in the overall context of Texas home builders, okay, that inventory is obviously really small. If we're talking volume and how many choices you have as a customer, Huntington gets a D here. This is slim pickings, all right? But that's also what makes it a hidden gem that I don't want you to miss. All right, let's talk about pricing for just a minute. If you haven't figured it out by now, Huntington is firmly planted in the luxury market, okay? There's no mistaking that. Everything they offer sits in the 7-figure range. So if you're trying to stay under $1 million, okay, this builder is not gonna work for you. Their current price range starts at about $1.5 million, which is their entry point in the Fields community. On the high end, they have listings that go all the way up to $3.4 million in Mustang Lakes. So that is a pretty significant spread, okay? We're talking about a range of over $700,000. So there's a big price range here, but it's within the luxury segment. So even though they're only working within the upper tier, they still offer variety within that range. All right, Fields is the more accessible community in terms of price, while Mustang Lakes represents the higher end of the portfolio. This tells you who Huntington is really targeting, all right? Affluent buyers who want custom quality homes in curated master plan communities. So they are definitely not chasing first-time buyers or the move-up crowd, okay? They're going after high-income buyers who want top-tier finishes, premium lots, and a more boutique building experience. Now, within the luxury lens, okay, I would give them an A for pricing variety. But again, that grade only applies if you're already shopping in that 1.5, to 3 million plus range. If you're not in that ballpark, then Huntington probably isn't in your playbook. When it comes to reviews, Huntington Homes just doesn't have much out there. No big surprise, right? They only have 2 communities with reviews. In total, there are only 13 total comments to look at. It's a pretty small sample size, which makes it hard to get a solid read on how consistent their customer experience really is. Of those 13 reviews, 54% were 4.5 stars or higher, and 46% were 4.4 or lower. So it's a pretty even split between happy and then not so happy customers. The few low star reviews that do exist, okay, and this is important to note, they're mostly older. Like most of those lower reviews are over a year old, and they don't have a ton of detail to really dig into, making it hard to know if they were just isolated incidents or part of a larger pattern. But on the flip side, most of their more recent reviews were 5.0 stars, okay? And so that is definitely a good sign. So that suggests either their customer experience has improved over time, or the most satisfied buyers are the ones leaving feedback right now. Still, 3 reviews, okay, in the past year, that's just not a whole lot to feel confident about, especially when you're talking about making a multi-million-dollar purchase. So if I had to give Huntington a grade based solely on my confidence in their reviews, I would land at like a B+. I mean, there's nothing alarming, okay, but there's also not enough volume to give you the confidence you'd probably want before signing a contract on a luxury home. All right, let's dive into Huntington Homes contracts because there are definitely some red flags worth talking about. All right, first up, their dispute-based convenience clause really leans in favor of the builder whenever there's a disagreement. Like basically, if something goes wrong or there's a dispute, Huntington Homes holds most of the cards, which isn't exactly the most balanced situation for buyers. Next up, let's talk about financing contingencies. Okay, those are actually decided by the seller here, which is a bit unusual. Like normally you'd expect some wiggle room or protections for the buyer when it comes to financing, but Huntington Homes keeps that control tight on their side. And that means you're relying on their terms. And if your financing falls through, you might be stuck. Another important point is that there is no appraisal protection in these contracts if you're using conventional financing. And this can be risky because if the home appraises lower than the contract price, you're going to end up having to cover the difference out of pocket. And then finally, tax proration, okay? It's finalized at closing, which sounds normal at first, okay? You probably are thinking, well, yeah, that's the way it is. But here's the kicker. If you close early in the year, okay, like in March, you won't see the full tax impact until your bill comes around in October. And this can be a big shock because you might be hit with a huge tax bill all at once. And this is going to be even more significant for luxury homes since their values, and therefore taxes can really change a lot. Now, none of these contract terms are exactly shocking if you've dealt with new construction before. I mean, they are pretty standard in the industry, but that doesn't mean you have to be excited about them either, okay? Buyers should definitely be aware of what they're signing up for. So overall, I'm giving Huntington Home contracts a B+. All right, they're not terrible, but there's definitely cause to proceed with caution when buying from Huntington. Now, if you thought this deep dive into Huntington was insightful, all right, you're gonna wanna check out our builder review playlist. We have a full lineup of builder reviews with every detail, every red flag, and every win, okay? So you can make the smart decisions. You can check out that playlist right here. In the meantime, this is Wendy Pennell, and I will see you in the next video.